with gymnastics specifically, you guys push yourselves to what honestly many other athletes would consider too much.
Yeah.
It's the nature of gymnastics, but why?
For me personally, I would do that on my own. No one else is pushing me to do it because I don't want to let my team down. I don't want to let myself down. Like, if I were to, like, look back, oh, I didn't do it because my wrist was hurting, like, I'd be like, okay, like, so what? Everyone has something that's hurting, you know? But I don't know. Gymnasts definitely do push themselves to the limits. Like, people from other sports are like, I mean, they'll be like, oh, this was hurting, so I didn't play. I'm like, oh, really? Like, I didn't know. It probably wouldn't be an option for me. But I did use a lot of, like, icy hot on it to compete and stuff. And it's kind of crazy because a lot of gymnasts have injuries and you can't even tell through their gymnastics at all. They just perform so well. I think you're, like, you have adrenaline and, like, you practice on it every day, so you're kind of used to, like, figuring out how you can work around it. But I think just in the moment, that's, like, kind of the last thing you're thinking about. You're, like, thinking about, like, your skills and you're telling yourself what to do, and your injury is, like, the last thing you're thinking about, I think.
Now that you're done, do you think that's healthy?
Definitely not. Definitely not, but it is, like, part of the sport. Like, I think every gymnast would probably tell you, like, the same thing. Like, it's just part of our sport, you know? It's definitely not, and probably, like, the way we think about some things is crazy.
Yes, it really is, especially because since I got to know you and your team and everybody else just so much better this season or this year.
Yeah.
When I watched you guys compete, I knew if somebody was injured or if somebody was going through something. Every single time I saw, like, a movement or whatever it was, I would just be like, oh my
like,
God.
You could feel it for them.
I could feel it for them. And it was terrible. But what's ridiculous to me is you guys land and there's a smile on your face and you cannot tell.
Yeah.
And that is wild to me.
Yeah.
And it's part of the culture in gymnastics.
Yeah. I want to show you a video afterwards. It's this girl from LSU, and at Nationals on day 1, she does a full in, which is a double back with a full twisting the first flip, and her foot was broken earlier in the season. She broke her foot in the middle of her routine. Her full in was beautiful. She landed, she had a smile on her face, finishes the whole routine, got a really good score, and her foot was rebroken. And you could not even tell the video from the video. Her routine was so good. It was insane to watch. And I'm like, that is crazy. But it happens. A lot of people do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think there's another sport that does that. Like, you guys quite literally destroy your bodies. And therefore, the mind is affected by those things as well. How do you think that shapes the gymnast personality?
I don't know if it necessarily affects their personality. I think that, I think in the gym you could probably see, like, you're a little bit more down, and, like, if you're going through something, of course you're going to be, like, less likely to, like, interact with your teammates because you're, like, thinking about yourself and, like, thinking, like, that something's hurt. But I think outside of the gym, like, when we're not, like, having to be in pain, like, at the moment, I think everyone is just, like, normal, kind of, you know? I don't know if it really affects us because we grew up thinking like this, you know?
Yeah, it's just so unique to see. It's not even only your team. You were mentioning an LSU gymnast just doing that. And, I mean, you see it with the homeschooled gymnast. You see it with all of the injuries. You see it whether you're smiling or crying. Like, all these different things.
Yeah.
But it's always a ridiculous amount of courage. I'm not even sure if it's that there's so much bravery or that something's being hidden, but the outcome is the same. And it's just unreal to watch, honestly.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just... I will never be in your guys' shoes, and you describe it as if it's okay. But from an outsider point of view, it's like, that's not okay.
I know. Everyone that I talk to that's not a gymnast always is like, that's not okay. That's not okay. But, like, even my family members are like, okay, you got it. Push through it. You're almost done. Like, that was another, like, thing. Okay, this is my last year. And, like, you know, like, okay, I could push through it one more year. But, like, my family is like that too, and, like, very tough. And, but I'll talk to other people's families and they're like, you need to go see a doctor. Like, what are you doing? You know? It's crazy.
It is insane. It is. Like, when do you think enough is enough for the body or for the mind for a gymnast?
I just think your mind is like a lot stronger than you think it is. And even like when we're doing conditioning, like you're doing your conditioning lists and like you think that you can't do all 10 leg lifts and you're like at 6 and you're struggling and you're like, okay, I just have 4 more, and you can like make yourself do it. Like, I think your mind is a lot stronger than you think, and like it can push through a lot of stuff and a lot of pain if it wants to. And I think we're taught that in our sport, and like that's kind of why. I don't know when the breaking point is. Like Nat like competed on fractured feet, like fractured bones and stuff, like without even knowing. She's like, oh, I'm in pain, but I didn't know it was fractured, you know? Or like, and then you have like a really big injury, and I think you have to stop if it's like obviously like a career-ending injury or like a big injury you need surgery on. You have to stop for a little bit, and then you get back in the gym and you do it again.
So the line is drawn when the body physically can quite literally not keep going, but if you can, you keep going.
I think so, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, because it's one thing to do leg lifts. Like, you can push yourself to do leg lifts. You can push yourself to wake up at whatever time you have to wake up, or get 0 amount of sleep, or whatever the case may be. You can push your mind and body through that.
Yeah.
But when, even I think of your guys' landings on severely sprained ankles or on whatever the case may be, and that is horrible to watch, honestly. Like, that is... Okay, maybe the mind is capable of that. I understand that because I've played on sprained ankles. Yeah. But it's not something that's like that you can get past quite easily. It's not something you can warm up. It feels horrible.
Yeah, and you're tumbling and your weight is like, it's like 1,000 times your weight. The force that's coming down, like, it is. It's not a good feeling, but we do it.
If there's anything you can change about the culture of gymnastics with that, what would it be?
I think gymnastics definitely has like a bad rep just because of everything that has happened over the years, and as it should, because that's like obviously not okay. But sometimes you're like, oh yeah, I do gymnastics, and they're like, oh, you know that Larry Nassar guy? Like, it's like the first thing that people think. And so I think it would be good to be able to change the culture. And I think a lot of these injuries happen in college gymnastics because you're competing so many weekends in a row, and like you're not used to doing that. And so maybe like preparing the body to do that at a younger age. Like when I was in club gymnastics, we would go and travel and compete one weekend, come back, compete again. And I think like it prepared me very well. And I don't think all clubs are doing that. And so I would say like surrounding injuries, I think it's okay to push through. And but if it is like seriously an issue, then you probably shouldn't be doing it. But I would change probably like leading up, like to prepare gymnasts to be able to handle all of the competing that you do in college.